Alright Israel, in this video I'm going to be exposing the Terminator movies, and eventually you're going to figure out that John Connor is playing Jesus Christ. That's why the initials are the same, JC. And it should be quite obvious by the titles of these movies: Terminator 2, Judgment Day; Terminator 4, Salvation; Terminator 5, Genesis. They're clearly telling you that this is something biblical. So let's just go straight to the movie. So this is Kyle Reese, who is the father of John Connor, Jesus Christ, and he's from the future, and he's searching for Sarah Connor's name in the phone book. And right next to her name are the numbers 4,431. So I decided I'll go to the Strong Concordance 4,431 and see what it gives me. Now it's not necessarily the name they give me, but the scriptures that they provide us with. And one of them that they give us is Luke chapter 2 verse 34. But I want to go to the NLT version to get a better understanding. Luke chapter 2 verse 34. Then Simeon blessed them, and he said to Mary, the baby's mother, "The child is destined to cause many in Israel to fall, and many others to rise. He has been sent as a sign from Elohim, but many will oppose him." So who will oppose John Connor, aka Jesus, in this movie? Who is a sign of hope to destroy the machines one day? Obviously it's the Terminators. And Sarah Connor is playing Mary, not because I said so, but because she said it out of her own mouth.
Fine. Let someone else be Mother Mary for a while.
And now on the right side of her name, it says the number 309. So I did the same thing. I went to the Strong Concordance G309 to see what it gives me. And again, it's not necessarily the word that the Strong's location gives me that I'm looking for, but it's the scripture that it provides me with. Luke chapter 4 verse 18. The Spirit of Yahuwah is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, and to preach deliverance to the captives.
And then one man found me. His name is John Connor, and he changed everything. John showed us how to fight back, how to rise up. He freed prisoners. He freed prisoners. He freed prisoners.
To preach deliverance to the captives.
He freed prisoners.
And recovering of sight to the blind. To set at liberty them that are bruised. So these numbers were strategically placed here as Strong Concordance numbers, so you can realize that this movie is talking about Christ.
Tell her who I am.
John Connor is leader of the worldwide resistance and last best hope of humankind.
So John Connor, Jesus Christ, is the leader of the worldwide resistance, and he is the last best hope of humankind. So what is John Connor, Jesus Christ, resisting? So let's go to the book God's War and Terror by Walid Shabbat, page 30. In every portrayal of Christ's return to the earth, he is fighting a nation that today is Muslim. Try to imagine how I felt when I read Habakkuk 3, which says that in the last days, God, the Holy One, would actually come to the earth on a mission to execute vengeance on Teman, Arabia, and Cushan, Sudan. I saw the tents of Cushan in distress, and dwelling in Midian in anguish, Habakkuk 3 and 7. Here, Christ fights in the battle against Arabia, Sudan, and Somalia, all Muslim nations. I had to ask myself, if Allah and the God of the Bible are one and the same, why then does the Bible consistently portray God as being on the side of Israel and against the Muslims? As to the question that I asked earlier, what does the Lord do when he comes riding on the cloud? The answer is found in the book of Isaiah chapter 19. He will come to Egypt to execute vengeance. See, Jehovah rides on a swift cloud and is coming to Egypt. The idols of Egypt tremble before him, and the hearts of the Egyptians melt within them. I appeal to the West. Why are no prophecy teachers teaching this? Allah, the idol of Egypt, and all the crescents on top of the mosque will shake and tremble. Much of the book of Isaiah is devoted to the final clash between the Messiah and the Antichrist. Yet, when we actually look at the specific nations which so many of the prophetic oracles or burdens are directed against, they are all Muslim nations. Consider the nations that are emphasized: Babylon, Isaiah 13, Assyria and the Philistines, Palestine, Isaiah 14, Moab, Isaiah 15, Damascus, Isaiah 17, Cush, Sudan and Somaliland, Isaiah 18, Egypt, Isaiah 19, Egypt and Cush, Isaiah 20, Babylon, Iraq and Arabia, and Edom, Arabia, Isaiah 21, Tyre, Lebanon, Isaiah 23. Does this sound like a 10-nation European confederation to you? Or does it sound like a coalition of Muslim nations from the Middle East? Arise, O God, judge the earth, for all the nations are your inheritance. God himself arises from his throne, but what nations does he rouse himself to fight? The nation that he wars against are well defined in Psalms 83 as a confederacy of Muslim nations allied against Israel. They formed an alliance against you, the tents of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagrites, Gebal, Ammon, and Amalek, Philistine, with the people of Tyre. Even Assyria has joined them to lend strength to the descendants of Lot. But what makes this psalm so important is that after recording the shared plans of the last days enemies of God, it actually lists exactly who these nations are. With one mind they plot together. They form an alliance against you. The nations of the coalition or alliance are the following: Edom, which extends from Jordan to Saudi Arabia. See Ezekiel 25. Edom is described as extending from Teman to Dedan, Arabia. Moab, Ammon, children of Lot, Jordan. Gebal, according to Unger's Bible Dictionary, this is in Lebanon, 25 miles north of Beirut. Tyre, again in Lebanon, today the center of Hezbollah. Philistine, Gaza, today the center of Hamas. Ishmaelites and Hagarites, Arabs in general. Assyria, these are Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. At its height, it included Egypt and Iran as well. Amalek, Jordan, southwest of the Dead Sea, Genesis 14:7. And so, we have a coalition of Muslim nations consisting of at least Turkey, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Palestine, all bent on destroying Israel. Whenever the sword of Messiah's wrath is mentioned, the Muslim nations are always mentioned as suffering God's judgment. For Isaiah also prophesied, "My sword is drunk its fill in the heavens. See, it descends in judgment on Edom, the people I have totally destroyed. The sword of Jehovah is bathed in blood. It is covered with fat, the blood of the lambs and goats, fat from the kidneys of rams. For Jehovah has sacrificed in Basra, a great slaughter in Edom. Their land will be drenched with blood, and the dust will be soaked with fat. For Jehovah has a day of vengeance, a year of retribution, to uphold Zion's legal cause. Edom's streams will be turned into pitch, her dust into burning sulfur. Her land will become a blazing pitch." Isaiah chapter 34, verse 3-9. The sword of Jehovah's wrath is against whom? Once again, it is Edom, the Muslim enemies of Israel. Why is Jesus judging Edom? It is to uphold Zion's legal cause. Time and time again, prophet after prophet, God's judgment is specified as being leveled against Muslim nations. Jesus himself is waging battle against the Muslim armies.
John Connor is leader of the worldwide resistance and last best hope of humankind.
So what is John Connor, Jesus Christ resisting? Islam.